The morning sun had barely touched the fields when the farmer trudged toward his henhouse. His life was a constant cycle of toil, with little reward to show for his sweat. Each day felt the same: feeding animals, plowing fields, and returning home to a table that never seemed full enough. But that morning, something extraordinary was waiting for him. As he reached into the nest of his favorite hen, his calloused hands froze. Instead of the usual plain white egg, there lay a heavy, gleaming oval that caught the light in a way no ordinary egg ever could. His eyes widened. A golden egg. He picked it up, his heart pounding, unsure if he was dreaming. The weight of it was real, the shine undeniable. This was not just an egg, this was a miracle. The farmer's first reaction was disbelief. He rubbed the egg, knocked on its surface, even bit it lightly, as if testing whether it was some clever trick. But the truth stood solid in his hands: he was holding gold. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then joy erupted in him like a flood. He laughed, he shouted, he even danced around the coop. After years of hardship, here was hope in its purest form, gifted to him by a simple hen. He rushed home, calling for his wife, who stared in astonishment when he placed the shining treasure on their wooden table. They whispered in awe, marveling at their sudden fortune. The farmer felt as though the heavens had finally heard his prayers, that the burdens he carried so long were about to be lifted. That first golden egg was more than wealth, it was a spark of new life. He imagined paying off debts, repairing his crumbling house, buying better seeds for his fields, maybe even saving enough to rest one day instead of working until his back broke. Gratitude filled his heart, and for once, the weight of his struggles seemed lighter. But what he did not yet know was that this unexpected gift, this shining miracle, would also test his heart. The golden egg was not only a blessing, it was the beginning of a choice between patience and greed, between wisdom and folly. Each morning after that first miracle, the farmer woke with eager steps, his heart pounding with anticipation as he hurried to the henhouse. And every single day, there it was, a fresh golden egg gleaming in the straw like a hidden treasure waiting to be claimed. At first, he could hardly believe his luck. Yet as the days turned into weeks, the impossible became routine. The farmer now carried golden eggs to the market with pride, and each sale filled his pockets with more coins than he had ever held in his entire life. Slowly, the winds of fortune began to shift. The once poor man who wore patched clothes and walked with weary shoulders now held his head high in the village square. Neighbors who barely noticed him before now greeted him with respect, even envy. Shopkeepers welcomed him eagerly, offering their best goods, knowing he could pay without hesitation. His small, humble home soon showed signs of change. Cracks in the walls were repaired, a new roof gleamed in the sun, and the smoke from his kitchen carried the aroma of meals richer than any he had ever eaten. The farmer's wife, who once worried about stretching meals to feed their family, now smiled as she laid fresh fruit, fine bread, and even meat upon the table. Their children, once dressed in faded hand-me-downs, now wore clothes that made them look like the children of nobility. Laughter filled the household where silence and worry once lived. The golden eggs had transformed not just their pockets but their entire lives. Each day seemed brighter, each step lighter. The farmer began to imagine a future far beyond his wildest dreams. He thought of buying more land, hiring workers to ease his burden, and living without the constant ache of poverty pressing on his shoulders. His heart swelled with pride each time he looked at the hen, the small, ordinary creature that had become the source of his new fortune. Yet with every golden egg, a seed of expectation began to grow. Wealth had eased his pain, but it also stirred new desires. Where once he had been grateful for one egg each morning, now he began to wonder, what if there could be more? The farmer's fortune grew with every golden egg, yet instead of feeling satisfied, a restless hunger began to creep into his heart. At first, it was a whisper, a fleeting thought that brushed past his mind as he held the heavy treasure in his hands: what if there is more? He tried to push the thought aside, but each morning when he found just a single golden egg, disappointment slowly replaced his joy. One evening, as he sat counting his growing pile of coins, his eyes narrowed. "One egg a day," he muttered. One egg when this hen might be hiding countless more inside her. He imagined the hen's belly filled with gold, a secret vault waiting to be opened. The more he thought about it, the more unbearable the waiting became. Why should he accept one egg at a time when a fortune might be lying just out of reach? His wife noticed the change in him. She saw how his eyes lingered on the hen, not with gratitude, but with calculation. She warned him gently, "We already have more than we ever dreamed. Patience will keep this blessing alive. Do not ask for more than what is given." But her words only fueled his irritation. "Patience," he snapped. "Do you not see? Every day we waste is a fortune lost. That hen is holding back treasures that should already be ours." Day after day, his thoughts twisted further, turning gratitude into greed. He began to see the hen not as a gift, but as a lock on a chest of riches, keeping him from the wealth he believed he deserved. Nights brought no peace, for in his dreams, piles of gold towered high, always just out of reach, always slipping away because of one stubborn hen laying too slowly. Soon, the whisper of greed became a voice, and the voice became a roar. The farmer convinced himself that waiting was foolish, that seizing everything at once was the smarter path. In his mind, he was no longer a lucky man but a cheated one, robbed of riches that were rightfully his. And so, the spark of greed that had begun as a quiet thought now burned into a dangerous fire, pushing him toward a choice that would change everything. One restless night, the farmer lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the golden egg stacked neatly in his mind like an endless staircase of wealth. But each step felt painfully slow, each egg a single drop in the ocean of fortune he craved. His patience had withered, replaced by a gnawing obsession. Finally, he sat up, his decision heavy but certain. "Tomorrow," he whispered to himself, "I will end this waiting. The hen is hiding gold inside, and I will take it all at once." At dawn, instead of rushing to the henhouse with excitement as he usually did, he carried with him a sharp knife. His wife, noticing the glint in his eyes, grew uneasy. "What are you planning?" she asked, though she already feared the answer. He ignored her concern, his mind locked on the vision of glittering treasure. Entering the coop, the hen clucked softly, unaware of the fate that awaited her. The farmer picked her up, feeling her warmth against his hands, but his heart no longer softened at the sight of the creature that had changed his life. His eyes were clouded with greed. "You have given enough in scraps," he muttered bitterly. "Now you will give me everything." With a swift motion, he raised the knife and struck. Silence filled the coop as the deed was done. He laid the hen on the ground and, trembling with anticipation, cut her open, expecting rivers of gold to pour out. His breath quickened, his hands shook, his eyes widened, yet all he saw was the same as any ordinary hen. Flesh, bones, nothing more. No treasure, no endless supply of eggs, only the lifeless body of the very gift he had once celebrated. For a long moment, he sat frozen, unable to believe what he had done. The golden eggs he had once treasured so dearly were gone, not because they had vanished, but because he had destroyed their only source with his own hands. His wife's voice broke the silence, heavy with sorrow. "Your greed has blinded you," she whispered. "Now we have nothing." The farmer stared at the knife, then at the lifeless hen, the weight of his decision crashing over him. In chasing after everything, he had lost the one thing that truly mattered. The silence in the coop was heavier than stone. The farmer's breath came in ragged gasps as he stared at the lifeless hen before him. Just hours earlier, he had convinced himself that riches lay within her, hidden gold waiting to burst forth. Now, all he saw was the ordinary truth, nothing more than flesh and feathers. No treasure. No secret fortune. Only the cold, irreversible reality of his choice. He dropped the knife, his hands trembling. For the first time in weeks, the glitter of wealth vanished from his eyes, replaced by a hollow emptiness. He glanced at the empty nest, where each morning a golden egg had once glowed like a sunrise of hope. It would remain empty now, forever. A shiver ran through him as he realized the magnitude of his loss. The hen, his miracle, the very source of his prosperity, was gone because of his own impatience. When he carried the news home, his wife covered her face and wept. "You killed our blessing," she whispered through tears. "Day by day, we could have lived in comfort. Our children would have grown with security. But your greed has left us with nothing." Her words cut deeper than any blade. The farmer looked around his home, the improvements, the meals, the laughter that had filled their days, and understood with painful clarity that it had all depended on one small creature. He had destroyed not just the hen, but the future it represented. His neighbors soon noticed his absence in the marketplace. The man who once arrived with golden eggs no longer appeared. Whispers spread, and respect turned to pity, then to scorn. The coins he had saved slowly dwindled, spent on food, on debts, on survival, until nothing remained but the memories of what once was. And each time he saw his children wearing clothes that again grew faded, or his wife scraping together a meager meal, the truth pierced him anew: his greed had turned abundance into scarcity, blessings into dust. The harsh reality stood before him without mercy. In reaching too far, he had lost everything. And there was no undoing it. In the quiet that followed his downfall, the farmer finally had time to reflect. No more golden eggs came to brighten his mornings, no more eager steps carried him to the henhouse. Each day was filled instead with silence and regret, as heavy as chains around his heart. He often sat on the worn wooden bench outside his home, staring at the empty coop where his miracle had once lived. The laughter of his children had faded, replaced by whispers of hunger. His wife's eyes no longer sparkled with hope but carried the dull ache of disappointment. It was then, in the emptiness, that the truth revealed itself to him. Wealth had been given to him in a steady stream, small but faithful, enough to change his life for the better. Had he only embraced patience and gratitude, the golden eggs would have continued, each day a reminder of blessing. But greed had clouded his vision. Instead of appreciating what he had, he demanded more, faster, greater. And in that blind pursuit, he had destroyed the very source of his fortune. The farmer realized that life itself was much like the hen. Its blessings rarely came all at once, they arrived slowly, steadily, teaching patience to those wise enough to see. Greed was a thief, promising abundance but delivering loss. He had learned that lesson too late, yet he could not deny its truth. In the village, his story spread as a cautionary tale. Children whispered it among themselves, and parents reminded their families of the farmer who had everything but lost it all. Some pitied him, others mocked him, but all agreed on the lesson: be grateful for what you have, for impatience and greed will strip it away. Though his wealth was gone, the farmer held one treasure that could never be taken: wisdom earned through his mistake. He vowed to live the rest of his days with humility, teaching his children not to repeat his error. He tended his fields with steady hands, no longer chasing after illusions, but working honestly, grateful for even the smallest harvest. The golden eggs were gone, but their memory carried a truth brighter than gold itself: greed destroys, but patience and gratitude protect what truly matters.